I want a divorce. I found someone who makes me feel alive. My name is Sophie Bennett. And I'm 45 years old. I work as a financial auditor for Laurentian Consulting in Ottawa. That text came through on a Tuesday morning while I was at my desk reviewing a client's expense reports for discrepancies. My husband Ryan was supposed to be at a marketing conference in Montreal. 3 days, he said. Routine stuff. I was halfway through a spreadsheet when my phone buzzed again. I've transferred our retirement funds to my personal account. You can keep the house. I don't want it. I set down my coffee and opened the banking app. Something was already off. But not the way Ryan thought it would be. I typed back, "I hope you're happy," and hit send. 7 words. No begging. No fighting. Just that. Then I leaned back in my chair and watched my work dashboard update. I'd built a fraud detection system for our firm's clients years ago after a major account got hit with embezzlement. It wasn't just for clients, though. I'd linked all our personal accounts to it. Retirement savings, investments, emergency funds. Even the checking account Ryan thought was his alone. Every joint account we had ran through my consolidated monitoring. When he tried to move that money, he triggered every protocol I'd coded. The system didn't care about love or marriage or betrayal. It saw 6 figures moving without two-party verification. And it locked everything down. Federal regulations kicked in. By 11 that morning, my phone was lighting up with alerts. Not from Ryan. From the bank. Account review initiated. Deposits frozen pending investigation. I didn't cheer, didn't cry, didn't slam my fist on the desk. I just closed the alerts and went back to my audit. A client's financial security was on the line. And I had to focus. Ryan's phone would start buzzing soon enough. He'd try to access that money and find his balance at 0. I'd seen it happen before, with clients caught in suspicious activity probes. Money doesn't care about your feelings. It follows rules. Ryan broke every single one. We'd been married for 22 years. High school sweethearts from a small town outside Ottawa. I was always the numbers person, balancing our budget in college, double-checking our taxes. Ryan was the outgoing one, a marketing guy, through and through, charming, persuasive, always working a room. He'd tease me about being too cautious. "You're obsessed with the details, Sophie," he'd say, when I'd go over our investment statements line by line. "Someone has to be," I'd tell him. It worked for years. I handled our finances while he climbed the ladder at his marketing firm. He traveled a lot, conferences and Calgary workshops in Vancouver. Always for work, he said, always networking. The signs were there. But they came slow. 6 months ago, he stopped asking about our retirement plans. 3 months back, he got a new credit card without telling me. A couple weeks before that text, he mentioned our basement was too cluttered. "Who even visits anymore?" he said over dinner. I brushed it off. "Work stress," I told myself. My brother noticed it at Christmas. "Ryan seems off," he said. I said it was just his job. But Ryan wasn't stressed. He was planning. He'd been studying our finances, my system looking for ways around it. Except, I'd built that system to catch every trick in the book. Every account was linked, every transfer tracked, not because I didn't trust him, but because I'd spent years auditing companies and seeing how people move money when they think no one's watching. The night before he left for Montreal, he was weirdly curious about our savings. "How much is in the retirement accounts total?" he asked while we were eating. "About $800,000 between us," I said. "Why do you care?" he shrugged. "Just wondering." Now it was clear. He wasn't wondering. He was calculating, planning his exit. I thought about calling his mom or his coworker, Claire, or my best friend, Olivia. But what would I say? "Your son tried to steal our life savings and got caught by my audit system." It sounded insane, like something you'd see on a bad television movie. So I didn't call anyone. I finished my workday, went home, made dinner, watched the news, checked the bank alerts again. the transfers were still frozen. The fraud investigation would take 5 to 7 business days. Ryan had bet on moving fast. He thought he could grab the money and disappear before the system caught him. He forgot I never miss a detail, not once in 22 years. By 3 that afternoon, he called. "Sophie, my card isn't working." His voice had that fake calm he used when a pitch went south at work. I could hear the panic underneath. "What's your balance?" I asked. "Zero." "It's zero. I transferred the funds." "How is this happening?" I leaned back in my office chair. "You tried to move $800,000 without my sign-off. The fraud system flagged it. Federal rules require a review for transfers that big without joint authorization." Silence. Then he said, "What did you do?" I told him the truth. "Nothing. The system did its job." More silence. "How long?" he asked. 5 to 7 business days longer, if they dig deeper." He hung up. I sat there staring at my computer screen, coffee gone cold. Something shifted in me, not just anger, not just hurt clarity. For 22 years, I'd built our future, saved every penny invested, smart setup systems to keep us safe, and the man I'd done it for decided to take it all and walk away. It wasn't the money that stung. It was how cold it was. A text, a transfer goodbye like I was a business deal he was done with. I pulled up our investment portfolio. Without Ryan's transfers, everything was still there. The retirement accounts, the savings bonds, the house we bought 10 years ago for $300,000, now worth almost $500,000. All of it protected by the system I'd built while he was off at his networking events. My phone showed 9 texts from Ryan by 5 that afternoon. I didn't read them. What was there to say? I called a divorce lawyer instead. Claire Nguyen, she worked downtown, knew her from a client project a few years back. She was blunt. "File now, Sophie. Document every alert. The attempted transfer will help your case." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "I'll come by tomorrow," I said. I went home and sat in our living room, the same couch we'd picked out after our honeymoon. I wasn't mad anymore. I wasn't even shocked. I was calm. The system had worked. Ryan thought he could outsmart it. Outsmart me. But the rules don't bend. Not for love, not for betrayal, not for anything. I checked the alerts one last time, before bed, still frozen, investigation ongoing. Ryan was probably panicking in some Montreal hotel room or wherever he really was. I didn't care. I'd spent years making sure we were safe now. That safety was mine alone, and I was going to keep it. Wednesday morning, I was back at my desk at Laurentian Consulting in Ottawa, staring at my computer screen when my phone buzzed with a new text from Ryan. "Sophie, you need to call the bank and tell them the transfer was authorized." His words hit like a punch to the gut. He wasn't sorry, he wasn't explaining. He was ordering me to clean up his mess. I sat there gripping my coffee mug, feeling the anger bubble up. 22 years of marriage, and this was what it came to. A text demanding. I let him walk away with our $800,000 in retirement savings. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my fraud detection dashboard. The system was still running its checks. Overnight, it had flagged 2 new attempts by Ryan to open credit cards using our joint address. Both declined because of the ongoing fraud investigation. My system didn't miss a thing. I leaned back in my chair, trying to process it. Ryan wasn't just trying to take our retirement funds. He was building a whole new life behind my back. The system showed the credit card applications were submitted from an IP address in Toronto, not Montreal, where he was supposed to be for his marketing conference. I felt my stomach twist. He'd lied about the conference. He wasn't networking for his company. He was somewhere else doing God knows what with God knows who. I remembered how 6 months ago he'd started coming home late, saying he had client dinners, how 3 months back he'd bought a new phone and said his old one broke, how last month he'd asked about our emergency fund over breakfast, acting casual. "Just curious, Sophie," he'd said. I told him we had $20,000 set aside. Now it was obvious. He wasn't curious, he was mapping out every penny we had. I was about to call my lawyer, Claire Nguyen, when my phone rang. It was Ryan. I let it go to voicemail, he called again. Then a third time. Finally, I picked up. Sophie, what the hell did you do? He said. His voice was shaking like he was trying to sound calm, but failing. The bank froze everything. My cards aren't working. I'm stranded here. I took a deep breath. Where's here, Ryan? Because it's not Montreal. Silence. Then he said, it's complicated. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. Complicated? You texted me, you want a divorce and tried to steal $800,000. Now you're in Toronto, not Montreal, and you're telling me it's complicated. He started to say something, but I cut him off. The fraud system caught you, federal regulations, locked the accounts because you moved money without my approval. I didn't do anything, you did this to yourself. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. My hands were shaking, but I wasn't scared. I was furious. I went back to my dashboard. The fraud alerts were piling up. Ryan had tried to access our joint checking account too, a $5,000 transfer attempt to an unknown account blocked. The system was doing its job just like I designed it to. I'd spent years as a financial auditor, catching mistakes and fraud for clients. Companies lost millions when people got sloppy. I wasn't going to let that happen to me. I emailed Claire the new alerts. Add these to the divorce filing, I wrote. She called me an hour later. Sophie, this is more than just a bad divorce. Ryan's actions look like deliberate financial misconduct. The credit card attempts and the Toronto IP address could point to something bigger. Keep documenting everything. I told her I would. I wasn't going to stop now. That afternoon, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Michael Patel, a lawyer claiming to represent Ryan. Miss Bennett, your husband is in a difficult position, he said. He needs access to funds for basic living expenses. The joint checking account has $5,000. That's enough for now. I almost laughed. $5,000, Ryan thought. $800,000 was reasonable to take. Without asking me, he can use the checking account. I haven't touched it. Michael sighed. This is getting messy. Let's resolve this quietly. I told him to talk to Claire, then I hung up. I wasn't going to let some lawyer guilt me into unlocking money Ryan tried to steal. By Thursday morning, something new hit my fraud system, flagged a transaction from Ryan's company account at his marketing firm, a transfer of $10,000 to a personal account with his name on it. The IP address matched the one from the credit card attempts in Toronto. I froze. Ryan wasn't just stealing from me, he was moving company money too. I remembered how his boss, Olivia Stewart, had called me a year ago, asking if Ryan was okay. He's been off lately, she'd said. I told her it was just stress. Now I wondered what else he'd been doing at work. I called Olivia. Sophie, I'm glad you reached out, she said. Ryan didn't register for the Montreal conference. We have no record of him there, and we're seeing irregularities in his expense reports. Can you tell me anything? My heart sank. This wasn't just about our marriage anymore. You need to check your accounts, I told her. My system flagged a transfer from your company to Ryan's personal account, $10,000 yesterday. She went quiet. Thank you, Sophie. I'll handle it from here. I sat at my desk feeling the weight of it all. Ryan hadn't just betrayed me. He was stealing from his company, maybe more. I thought about the 22 years we'd spent together, the vacations we'd planned, the house we'd bought for $300,000, now worth $500,000, the promises we'd made, all of it built on trust. I thought was real. Now I saw the truth. He'd been playing me for months, maybe years. I went through old bank statements on my lunch break. 2 years ago, he'd started making small transfers to a separate account, $1,000 here, $2,000 there. I'd never questioned it. He said it was for work expenses. I trusted him. That was my mistake. I met Claire after work at her office downtown. I brought printouts of every fraud alert, every transaction, every red flag. This is enough to bury him in court, she said, flipping through the pages. But Sophie, if his company's involved, this could go federal. You need to be ready for that. I nodded. I was ready. I'd spent my career catching fraud building systems to stop people like Ryan. I wasn't going to back down now. I went home that night and checked the alerts again. The bank had escalated the investigation. They'd found more transfers from Ryan's company accounts. Going back 18 months, my system had caught what his firm missed. I felt a strange, calm settle over me. The anger was still there, but it was quieter. The system was working. The truth was coming out. Ryan could try to run, but he couldn't hide. Not from me, not from the rules, not from the consequences he'd brought on himself. Friday morning, my phone buzzed with a text from Ryan that made my blood boil. Sophie, stop playing games and call the bank. I need that money, you're ruining my life. I was sitting at my desk, staring at those words, feeling like I'd been slapped. Ruining his life. After 22 years of marriage, he texted me for a divorce and tried to steal $800,000, and now had the nerve to blame me because my fraud detection system caught him. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my dashboard. The system was still tracking every move Ryan made overnight. It had flagged another transaction, $15,000 moved from his company's marketing budget to a third-party account in Toronto, not his personal account. This time, someone else's. My heart started racing. Ryan wasn't working alone. I was still processing that when my phone rang, it was Ryan again. I didn't want to answer, but something told me to hear him out. Sophie, you need to fix this, he said. His voice was desperate now, not even pretending to be calm. The bank's saying it's a federal investigation. My accounts are frozen. I can't pay for anything. Call them and say it was a mistake. I gripped the phone, so hard my knuckles hurt. A mistake. You tried to take everything we built and disappear. You lied about Montreal, you're in Toronto. Moving company money to random accounts. Who are you working with? Ryan's silence. Then he said, You don't understand. It's not what you think. I laughed and it felt bitter. I understand you betrayed me. I understand you're stealing from your company. The system sees everything you're done. He started yelling, but I hung up. I wasn't going to let him twist this around. I emailed the new fraud alert to my lawyer, Claire Nguyen. She called me within 10 minutes. Sophie, this is huge, she said. The third-party account suggests Ryan has a partner. This isn't just about your marriage anymore. It's corporate fraud. You need to protect yourself. Send those alerts to his company's legal team. I told her I'd already talked to Olivia. Stuart, Ryan's boss, Olivia, had called me back Thursday night, saying their internal audit was turning up more discrepancies. We're bringing in an outside investigator, she'd said. Your system caught what we missed. Can you share your data? I'd promised to send everything now with this new $15,000 transfer. I knew I had to act fast. I compiled every alert from the past week, the retirement fund, attempt the credit card applications, the $5,000 checking account, move the $10,000 company transfer from Wednesday. And now this. I sent it all to Olivia with a note. Check your marketing accounts. Ryan's not acting alone. An hour later, I got a call from Daniel Fraser, a financial crimes investigator with the Ottawa Police Service. Miss Bennett, I'm working with Olivia Stewart's firm, he said. Your fraud detection system flagged transactions we need to discuss. Can you meet me today? I told him I'd come to their office after work. My stomach was in knots, but I wasn't scared, I was angry. Ryan had spent years building a lie while I built a system to catch the truth. I thought about the last 2 years, how he'd started taking calls in the garage, saying it was work, how he'd gone to conferences in cities he never mentioned before, how he'd introduced me to a new colleague named Ethan Clarke at a company event last summer. Ethan was another marketing exec, always smiling, always talking about big deals. Now, I wondered if Ethan was the name on that third-party account. I met Daniel Fraser at 5 that afternoon, in a conference room at Ryan's company. Olivia was there too, looking like she hadn't slept in days. Sophie, your data is a goldmine, Daniel said. We've traced the $15,000 transfer to an account linked to Ethan Clarke. He's been working with Ryan for at least 18 months. They've been siphoning marketing funds into personal accounts across Ontario. Your system caught patterns our audits missed. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Ethan, the guy Ryan, called his work brother, the guy who'd been to our house for barbecues. I remembered Ethan joking about buying a cottage last fall. Marketing pays well, he'd said. Now I knew how well. How much, I asked. Daniel looked at Olivia, then back at me. Preliminary estimate is $1 million over 2 years. Maybe more. I sat there stunned. Ryan hadn't just stolen from me. He'd been running a scheme with Ethan right under my nose. Olivia spoke up. Sophie, we're cooperating with the police. We need your system's logs to build a case. Ryan and Ethan could face federal charges. I nodded. You'll have everything, every alert, every transaction. Daniel handed me his card. We may need you to testify your system's the cleanest evidence we have. I told him I'd do whatever it took. I wasn't just protecting myself anymore. Other people at Ryan's company could lose their jobs if this went unchecked. I thought about the 22 years I'd spent trusting Ryan, planning our future, saving every penny, all while he was plotting with Ethan to steal $1 million. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected, not because I still loved him, but because I'd been so blind. When I got home, Ryan had left 7 voicemails. I played the last one. Sophie, you're making this worse. Tell the bank it was authorized. I'll give you half the money. Just stop. I deleted it half the money. He thought he could bribe me after stealing from me and his company. I called Claire and told her about the voicemails. Save them, she said. They're evidence of intent. This is going to bury him. I saved every message, every text, every alert. My system was a vault of truth, and Ryan couldn't talk his way out of it. That night, I got a text from Michael Patel, Ryan's lawyer. Miss Bennett, your actions are escalating a private matter into a public mess. Let's settle this. I didn't respond. There was nothing to settle. Ryan had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to pull him back. I went to bed, feeling a strange calm. The anger was still there, burning hot, but it wasn't controlling me. My system was doing what I'd built it to do, catching lies, exposing schemes, protecting what was mine. I thought about the house we bought for $300,000, now worth $500,000. The retirement account's still safe. The life I'd worked for, Ryan could try to tear it down, but he'd failed. The police were closing in. The company was digging. Deeper, I was ready to hand over every piece of evidence I had, not out of revenge, but out of necessity. The truth was out, and it wasn't going to stop. Not for Ryan, not for Ethan, not for anyone. Monday morning, I got a call from Daniel Fraser, the Ottawa Police Service investigator, that turned my stomach. Sophie, we've arrested Ryan and Ethan Clarke, he said. Your evidence was key. We need you to testify before a grand jury this week. Can you be at the courthouse? Wednesday, I was sitting at my desk, holding my phone, feeling a mix of rage and disbelief. Ryan had tried to steal $800,000 from our retirement savings, and now he was in handcuffs for siphoning $1 million from his company with Ethan, 22 years of marriage, and it ended like this. I told Daniel I'd be there. I wasn't backing down. Like fraud detection system hell. I caught every lie, and I was going to make sure the truth came out. I spent Tuesday compiling every piece of evidence from my system, every alert, every transaction, the $800,000 retirement transfer attempt, the $5,000 checking account move, the $10,000 and $15,000 company transfers to Ethan's accounts. I printed logs showing 18 months of smaller transfers. Ryan had hidden $1,000 here, $2,000 there, all linked to Ethan's network. I emailed everything to Daniel and my lawyer Claire. Nguyen. Claire called me that night. Sophie, this is airtight, she said. The grand jury will indict Ryan and Ethan on multiple counts: wire fraud, conspiracy, embezzlement. You're not just saving yourself, you're saving other victims. I asked who else was hurt. At least 10 families, she said. Employees at Ryan's company whose bonuses got cut because of the missing funds. I felt sick. Ryan hadn't just betrayed me, He'd screwed over people who trusted his company. Wednesday morning, I walked into the Ottawa courthouse with Claire. My hands were steady, but my heart was pounding. I saw Ryan for the first time since he left for his fake Montreal conference. He was in a suit, sitting with his lawyer Michael Patel, looking smaller than I remembered. No charm, no confidence, just a guy who got caught. He glanced at me, and I expected him to look ashamed, but his eyes were cold. That hit me harder than I thought it would. I wanted to yell at him, ask him why he threw away our life for money he didn't need, but I didn't. I sat down and waited for my turn to testify. The prosecutor, Sophie Bennett, called me to the stand. She was sharp and didn't waste words. "Miss Bennett, explain how your fraud detection system works," she said. I told the jury everything, how I'd built it as a financial auditor to catch unusual patterns, how it flagged Ryan's $800,000 transfer without aid to my approval, how it caught the company transfers to Ethan's accounts. I showed them the logs, the timestamps, the IP addresses from Toronto. The jury listened like they were hanging on every word. When I stepped down, Sarah pulled me aside. "Your testimony sealed it," she said. "We're charging Ryan and Ethan with 12 counts of wire fraud, 8 counts of conspiracy, and 3 counts of embezzlement. They're looking at 15 years minimum if convicted." I nodded. I didn't feel happy. I felt empty, not because I wanted Ryan back, but because the man I'd loved for 22 years was a stranger. I thought about the times he'd laughed with me over dinner, planned our retirement, promised we'd travel when we were older, all while he was plotting with Ethan to steal $1 million. I walked out of the courthouse and got a text from Michael Patel. "Sophie, your testimony is destroying Ryan. He's willing to settle the divorce if you soften your statement." I showed it to Claire. She shook her head. "He's desperate. Don't engage, the evidence speaks for itself." I didn't respond to Michael. There was no settlement. Ryan had made his choice. Thursday brought another shock. Daniel Fraser called me at work. "Sophie, we've uncovered more victims," he said. Ryan and Ethan targeted retirement accounts of 3 other company employees. They used fake expense reports to funnel money your system. They caught the pattern before we did. I asked how much. $200,000 across the 3 accounts. He said. I felt my chest tighten. These were people like me, people who'd saved for years only to have Ryan and Ethan try to take it. I told Daniel I'd send every new alert my system. I flagged. He thanked me and said I might need to testify again at the federal trial. I said I'd be there. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing it because it was right, because my system was built to protect people, not just me. That night, Ryan left a voicemail. "Sophie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen. Tell them I'll cooperate if you drop the divorce." I played it for Claire the next morning. "He's trying to manipulate you," she said. "Save it for the prosecutor. It shows he knows he's guilty." I saved the voicemail. I wasn't dropping anything. Ryan had texted me for a divorce and tried to take everything we'd built now. He was begging, because the walls were closing in. I met with Sophie Bennett Friday afternoon. I gave her the voicemail and the latest system logs. "This is enough for a federal indictment," she said. "Ryan and Ethan won't see bail. They're flight risks." I asked what came next. "The trial's in 6 weeks," she said. "Your evidence will be front and center." I told her I was ready. I went home and sat in my living room, the same couch Ryan and I had picked out years ago. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even shocked. I was clear the system I'd built had done its job. It caught Ryan and Ethan. It protected our $800,000. It saved other families from losing $200,000. It gave the police and the prosecutor what they needed to lock them up. I thought about the house we'd bought for $300,000, now worth $500,000. The retirement account's still safe. The life I'd worked for. Ryan could try to guilt me or bribe me or threaten me. It didn't matter. The truth was out. The evidence was undeniable. I felt a calm I hadn't felt in weeks, not because I'd won, but because the rules had won, the system had won. Justice wasn't about my feelings, it was about facts, and the facts were on my side. I called Claire before bed. File the divorce papers, I said. No alimony, no splitting the house, just end it. She said she'd have everything ready. By Monday, I hung up and checked my system one last time. No new alerts. The investigation was moving forward. Ryan and Ethan were behind bars. The trial was coming. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was ready to stand up and tell the truth again. Not for me, but for everyone they'd hurt, for the system that never failed me. 6 weeks after my grand jury testimony, I sat in the Ottawa courthouse watching the federal trial come to an end. Ryan and Ethan Clarke sat at the defendant's table, looking nothing like the men I'd known. Ryan's suit was wrinkled and Ethan's cocky grin was gone. I was there to hear the verdict, but I felt my anger flare when Ryan glanced at me with the same cold stare he'd given during my testimony. 22 years of marriage, and he still thought he could charm or guilt his way out of stealing $1 million from his company and trying to take our $800,000 in retirement savings. The prosecutor, Sophie Bennett, stood up and summarized the case. My fraud detection system had caught every move they made. $800,000 transfer attempt. The $10,000 and $15,000 company transfers the $200,000 they targeted from other employees. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on 12 counts of wire fraud, 8 counts of conspiracy, and 3 counts of embezzlement. Ryan got 15 years, Ethan got 10. I didn't cheer or cry. I just sat there feeling the weight of it all. I walked out of the courthouse with my lawyer, Claire Wynne. She put a hand on my shoulder. Sophie, you did it. The evidence from your system made this happen. Not just for you, but for the 10 families they hurt. I nodded, but I was still processing. I thought about the employees who'd lost bonuses because Ryan and Ethan funneled $1 million into their own accounts. The 3 families whose $200,000 in retirement funds were almost gone. My system had stopped it. I wasn't proud. I was relieved. Sarah met us outside and told me the court ordered full restitution. The $200,000 would go back to the victims. My $800,000 was already safe in the original accounts. I thanked her and drove home the house we'd bought for $300,000, now worth $500,000. Felt too big, too full of memories I didn't want. That night, I got a letter from Ryan, mailed from the detention center. Sophie, I know I messed up. I got greedy, Ethan said. We could beat the system. I believed him. I'm sorry. I read it twice and felt a jolt of anger. Sorry didn't erase the divorce text. Sorry didn't undo the $1 million he stole. Sorry didn't bring back the 22 years I'd spent trusting him. I put the letter in a drawer with the partings. The rest of the evidence I didn't write back. I called Claire instead. The divorce papers are ready, right? I asked. She said they'd be filed Monday. No alimony, no splitting the house. Just a clean break. I told her to make it quick. I was done with Ryan. Done with his lies. Done with the life we'd built together. By Friday, the divorce was final. The judge awarded me the house and our $800,000 in retirement savings. The joint checking account with $5,000 was split evenly. I didn't care about the $2,500 Ryan got. He could have it. I listed the house for sale the next week. It sold in 10 days for $500,000 after fees. I didn't feel sad packing up. I donated Ryan's old clothes and boxed up the photos we'd taken over the years, not out of anger, but out of necessity. I needed a fresh start. I bought a smaller place in Ottawa, a 1-story condo near the university. Simple, no extra rooms to fill with memories. I kept my job at Laurentian Consulting, but started teaching a part-time course at the University of Ottawa, financial auditing. Real cases, real lessons. I told my students to trust, but verify systems matter when people fail. A month later, Daniel Fraser called with an update. Sophie, the restitution is complete. The $200,000 is back, with the 3 families your system saved them. I thanked him and asked about Ryan and Ethan. They're in federal prison, he said. Ryan's still claiming he didn't mean it. Ethan's cooperating for a reduced sentence. I didn't care what they were saying. The system had done its job. The truth was out. I hung up and checked my fraud detection dashboard. No new alerts. Everything was quiet. I felt a calm settle over me, not because I'd beaten Ryan, but because the rules had won the system. I'd built as a financial auditor had protected me and others when trust wasn't enough. I got another letter from Ryan, 2 months later. Sophie, I'm paying for my mistakes. I hope you can forgive me someday. I didn't feel angry this time. I didn't feel anything. I put the letter in the drawer and moved on. I didn't visit him. I didn't write back. Forgiveness wasn't the point. The point was moving forward. I started running errands without avoiding places we'd been together. I passed Ryan's old company building. Sometimes it had a new name. Now a fresh start like me, the 10 families who'd been hurt got their money back. They learned to trust carefully, just like I had. I kept teaching my class, kept auditing for. Clients kept checking my system. It was automatic now. A habit that saved me when everything else fell apart. 3 years later, I'm sitting here with my morning coffee. I've got a routine breakfast market checks on my laptop, a drive to work, without thinking about what I'm leaving behind. I'm 48 now, the $800,000 in. Retirement savings is still there. Growing slowly, the condo is paid off. My life is smaller, but it's mine. I tell my students about the case sometimes, not the whole story, just enough to show them why systems matter, why details matter, why trust needs a backup plan. I don't hate Ryan anymore. I don't miss him either. He's a lesson I didn't want to learn, but I learned it. The system kept working when he didn't. It caught his lies. It protected what I'd built. It gave me a way to start over. Sometimes I think about the 22 years we had, the promises we made, the plans we thought we'd keep. They're gone, but I'm not. I'm still here, building, saving, teaching, living the system. Didn't just save my money, it saved me not. Because I was lucky, but because I was careful. Because I built something that could see the truth when I couldn't. That's what I tell my students. That's what I tell myself. Trust is good, but verification is better. Justice doesn't come from anger or pain. It comes from facts, from systems, from consequences. I've made peace with that, and I'm okay.